Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk to Me, Sis.
Good morning, Miss Lise. Good morning, Connor.
Good morning,
Tanner.
This morning we are so excited.
Yep.
Nikki, we have some celebrities in the studio with us.
I
this
know.
morning.
I feel so honored to be sitting with these two good-looking men.
So
And
do
I'm
I.
honored to be sitting with this good-looking man and these two good-looking ladies.
Oh, man.
Thanks.
Tanner, you shouldn't have, really.
You know what? We are so lucky, and thank you, Tanner and Connor, for making time out of your very busy schedules.
Yeah,
You're
to sit with
welcome.
us.
of course.
That's
Excellent.
the understatement of the year, I feel like. Busy schedule.
Absolutely.
Well, we're out here on our covered porch, and let me just tell you, it's beautiful out here. I mean, the trees aren't blooming, but spring is in the air.
Oh,
I
and
can
I couldn't be
smell
more
it.
excited, Connor. I am living for the warm weather.
Absolutely.
Me too.
We had some scary storms last night, but they're gone. I think they're heading your way.
We're kind of in the middle of them, but supposedly by afternoon it's going to be gorgeous. So hopefully it'll pass quickly.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, listen, thank you guys. You guys have something a little exciting coming up here sooner than later. Do you want to talk about it just really quick? What's the big date that we're all excited for?
All right,
Let's talk about it.
Connor, you take it.
April 2nd.
Woo!
Tanner, do you know what's happening April 2nd?
I do kind of. Yes, Miss Lisa.
What is it?
Because I know we're going, let's see.
What's coming out on April 2nd?
The show! Season 3!
Yes.
Yeah!
And we don't have to be quiet anymore. We can tell the world that Tanner and Connor are on
Good.
season 3.
This has been
Yeah.
this would be a huge, once the show comes, it'll be a huge weight off my back.
It's been
Yes.
stressful keeping it under wraps.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
It's
there's
nice
this
to be able
other
to talk about it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted, Miss Nikki. I
No, my
interrupted.
bad. You go, baby.
No. Well, on March 20th, which is the spring equinox, which is the start of spring, a show I've been waiting long and hard for is coming to Netflix. It's called Wolf King, based on the book series Werewolf by Curtis Joblin, who will also be producing the show as well.
Yeah, but and I'm glad you're excited for that, but we're here to talk about all things Tanner and Connor.
Yeah, more on that later.
More on that later. Okay, well, cool. You guys, just so you know, we thought it was really important for our second episode to have you and Connor on, because you're kind of the reason why, Tanner, your mom and I are out here doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know you and Miss Lisa. I know you my mom are Miss Lisa.
Yeah, but we're here because of you two. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for you two being so authentic and so true to yourself and
Yeah.
honest, right? If you weren't so
Right.
honest about who you were, the whole world got to see how beautiful you are. And the whole world started tapping me and Nikki on the shoulder saying, hey, we want to learn more about your families. So thank you guys
Thank you.
for helping us talk to more families.
It's been amazing and it's just, I feel like you guys, we're not even going to realize for a while how much good you guys' example has done in the world. I think you've given hope to a lot of moms and dads who have much younger children, and they look at you two and they think, oh, anything is possible.
Yep.
And that's the best gift you could ever give the world.
So we thought it might be nice, Tanner, if you would feel comfortable sharing a little bit of growing up, what it was like
Yes,
with
ma'am.
Tanner.
Uh-huh.
And you tell us just what you're comfortable sharing. And Connor, if you feel comfortable, just because people really want to know what's going on between these two gorgeous ears.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. We all have gorgeous ears, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
They're the best. Okay. So Nikki, do you want to start off? Because you were
Sure.
so great to get the questions together. We've
All
had a
right.
crazy weekend.
Okay. So guys, we're just going to ask you guys a few questions, and whatever your answers are great. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tanner, I'll start with you, and we're
Okay.
going to let you give your answer, and then we're going to give the same question to Connor.
Okay.
So Tanner, when you were a very little boy, okay, do you have memories of the years when you used to only wear your tractor shirt and your airplane shirt, and when you used to stim a lot?
I do.
Do you remember those years?
I do.
Do you know how were you feeling inside during those years? Can you tell us? You can look at
I was feeling good inside those years, but I used to wear only my track shirt and my airplane shirt.
do you have any, can you tell people like why you stemmed in those years? Like when you used to do a lot of flapping your hand, and remember you used to run up and down the stairs.
Uh-huh.
Do you know in your heart why you did those things?
Uh-huh. Because it made me feel good.
Okay. And like inside your body, what were you feeling?
I was feeling like I had to do it because it made me feel good.
Okay. So you said that was how you kept yourself feeling calm?
Yes,
Is that a good
yes,
way?
ma'am. Oh,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. And that's why.
Okay. Tanner,
Like it was an urge in order to stay calm. You wanted to go and flap your hand. It made you feel calm.
Yes, ma'am. It made me feel calm.
and when you're looking at Miss Lisa and Connor, you're really talking to everybody that's listening to this podcast.
Okay.
So explain to them, what were your stims, the things that you did when you were a really little boy?
Okay. So I did this flapping.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit belts and straps and watches on my hand.
Yep,
And I
you
made
sure
this
did.
feeling sound.
Like Tanner would double over the belt, wouldn't you? Like hold it in
Yes.
one piece and show them what you did with it.
Yeah, I did it. Hold it and this.
Tanner, would you say that you liked the feeling of it better or the sound of it or both?
On both.
Okay. So you liked the way it felt and the way it sounded?
Yes, I like the way it felt and the way it sounded.
That's so interesting to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting to you.
Tell everybody else too, like, how did you feel during those years about movies? And like, tell them about your interest in movies during those years.
Okay. And I got so interested in movies because I love dinosaurs so much because it's so cool how the T-Rex looked. It's so cool how they have 2 legs like us. And mine's so young too.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else. And the actors?
And did you, in those years, would you have rather been by yourself watching movies or be with other kids in those years?
Be by myself watching movies.
Did it bother you that you weren't with other kids, or was that something you thought about?
That's something I thought about.
It was or it wasn't?
It was.
It was. Did you worry about it?
I did not worry about it.
You didn't worry about it.
Nope.
So would you say that you were fine watching movies by yourself and being alone?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go to Connor. Let's let Miss Lisa ask Connor.
Okay, so Connor, when you were younger, around the time you were around 4 or 5, but I would say around 2 or 3, you started to notice some things. First of all, do you remember going to playgroups in Massachusetts? Remember when remember Carly? You always wanted her to be Clarissa, and you were Rudolph.
Clarice.
Clarice. Okay, sorry. Do you remember those playgroup days? It was like Carly and Brian.
Yeah.
And do you remember you walked on your tippy toes?
Yeah, I used to walk on my toes a lot. And in fact, I had to get my legs put in casts just to set them.
We called them your space boots. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
So Connor, you used to walk on your tippy toes and you had surgery. And then we had these molded purple boots that you had to wear to bed and school. So when you were walking on your toes, and do you remember lining up your toys?
Yeah, I remember. I used to put them in a big line.
In a big line. And then remember at play groups like Brian and Carly would always play, but you always kind of were off kind of looking at the books underneath a table.
Yeah, I always did like to read.
And then do you remember at Auntie Tiffany's, you always went into her built-in cabinet and sat?
Yeah.
What kind of things, do you remember why you wanted to be in that closed space or walk on your toes or line up your toys? Do you have any memory of what it did for you?
Well, it made me feel sheltered for one thing, and it gave me a quiet place to be myself.
So the other kids were a little too loud for you?
Yeah.
So he would go sit in this fireplace built-in cabinet.
I love it.
And so you needed to be quiet. Were the other kids too much for you, or?
Yeah.
Okay. How about walking on your toes? What did that do?
Well,
and you may not know. I mean, did it feel better to walk up on tippy toes than flat feet?
yeah. Well, I think so.
It's okay if you don't remember, because you were little. I mean, I don't remember stuff when I was 5, so it's fine.
No.
The other thing you used to do, and you still kind of do it, but you've modified it. Remember you used to gallop a lot and then smash into a wall?
Yeah.
You used to like bounce around and hit walls and body check the walls.
Yeah, I
Connor,
just
that's so crazy. Tanner did that exact same thing, but he did it up our staircase. Do you remember?
I do remember.
He would run up to the top of one flight, run back down and slam his body into the closet door. Do you remember
I
that?
remember that.
And he would make a noise while he did it. We called it running and humming.
Yes.
Yep.
Well,
And he
Connor
would
would
do
just
it.
sort of smash into walls and stuff. So, but now I've noticed as an adult, when you have your downtime,
Yeah.
you like to gallop and bounce and jump on the deck in the front yard.
It's more like dancing, really.
Now it's dancing. Okay, I love it. Oh, bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you,
Spring.
but
Sorry.
Yep.
Hay fever.
pollen's out. Pollen's out.
Pollen's out. So, okay. So all of those things, do you remember at the end of the day, Tanner said it helped him feel calm. Did it do anything else for you?
Well, it made. Sorry, it made me feel calm as well.
Okay. All right, cool. And
That's
then
so interesting.
the only other thing I remembered so much with you, and I still hear you do it now. Do you remember you would watch Bob the Builder,
Yeah.
and then you could completely 4 hours later do the whole episode?
I know.
Yeah, I was young.
Yeah, but it was cool. It's cool, and you still have a great memory like that.
I was going to say, Connor's memory and ability to recall things and use the correct accent and is.
I remember when I went. I remember one Halloween when I was in preschool, and we all had to wear our costumes. I was dressed as a little knight. I remember my cape used to tug under me when I sat, and my costume itched.
Oh,
So
you
your
didn't like that.
clothes gave you itchy sensory problems. What about tags and shirts and stuff?
And Tanner,
Nah,
remember
I just
when
scratched
you were
myself
younger,
some-
you didn't like to wear many clothes,
I
right?
remember. I just
Yeah.
remember why I had my shirt off a lot. Why I always like to have my shirt off a lot.
He didn't. He
Yeah.
liked to be in just shorts and Crocs, as little clothes as
I
possible.
never liked to get dressed up for special occasions.
And then so when you were in school, because I used to get notes in the classroom that you were having a hard time in your seat, was it sometimes the clothing was bothering you and you just didn't know how to say something, or?
Yeah, no, it didn't bother me. They just itchy fabric.
Okay, was it hard to pay attention in school with that? That did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, the thing is, like, when we were at those little play groups, or did you ever feel like you were missing out when Brian and Carly were having a good time?
No.
You didn't care?
Nah.
You were very happy just chilling out?
Yeah, just being myself.
And you weren't looking over there saying, boy, I wish I could play with them?
Nah.
Okay,
Lisa,
good.
don't you think that's so important for younger parents to hear? Because that was one of my huge fears. I really worried about the emotional side of it. And Tanner, I used to worry if you felt left out or isolated. But to hear him say now that he wasn't feeling that way is so
Anything,
comforting.
he was preferring it.
Yes, and I hope that eases some anxiety for a younger family, that maybe it's just where they need to be at that time until they figure out their regulation strategies.
And I think with anything else, it's a balance, right? So I do think, obviously, we want our kids feeling calm and regulated. Like Tanner and Connor said, it made them feel calm. But there were times, and this is where, as a parent, I think we're put in their lives, where I may have helped scaffold and encourage some interaction because it wasn't completely healthy to let them sit. But I think the takeaway for me is it's a balance, and it's also knowing that they're not like we're assigning our kind of own issues and feelings to them, and they're happy and content. But also it is our job to help teach them how to come out a little bit and comfortably. And scaffold them into interactions, because we did work on that too, where I think we did pare down with maybe like one play date, and I did have just Carly come over quite a bit.
Yeah.
I helped babysit her, and we would work on you and Carly playing a game, and then you were allowed to go off and do.
Yeah.
But I do think parents, but when they are off and they're having that moment, it's probably just like any of us, just having our own little break, and they're okay.
I love that. You said that so beautifully, Lisa. And that is one thing that I would go back and tell my younger self, because I think I was always feeling like somehow
they gotta play. Yeah.
I was somehow failing, or I wasn't, mothering him correctly if I wasn't making sure that every single moment with peers was an interaction or an opportunity to grow. But now I realize, like you said, it is a balance. Obviously, we don't let any child just go off and do what they want to do, whether that's overeating or watching too much TV or whatever.
Screens, phones, yeah.
Right, exactly. We don't let any child overdo, their habit or their preoccupation. but it is okay to let them have it, to regulate to some degree. I wish I had
Right.
found that balance so much sooner.
I know, and I wish I would have been comfortable with the balance. I was
Yes.
always, and if you'll hear our diagnosis story in another episode, but I felt like I was burning daylight by the time
Yep.
I knew what was going on with Connor. So I was almost in hyperdrive and really kind of forcing stuff and getting him into uncomfortable situations
I
because of
agree.
my own guilt. So
I 100% did the exact same thing. And that is something that maybe we can really be an encouragement to the younger families right now. Let that, you know what, go. Let
pace
it
yourself.
go.
Pace
Yes.
yourself.
And it is fine if they're not engaged every single moment.
Right.
We have, during those years, those early years, we did a very intense in-home ABA program. And just for the people out there who are doing ABA or want to talk about ABA, Tanner, can you briefly you can tell Miss Lisa and Connor about your school at home?
Okay. You mean homeschool?
Yeah. Like who was I your teacher?
You were my teacher in 2nd grade and 5th grade. And
No,
Steve.
but no, when you were little. When you were little, before you went to, was I your teacher or who was
No,
your teacher?
Miss Heather, Miss Renee, Miss Lisa, Miss Olivia.
Okay, so tell them all about it.
So I'll tell you, when I was in K4, I was homeschooled too, and I'll tell you who my teachers were: Miss Heather, Miss Renee, Miss Lisa, and Miss Olivia.
Yep. And did you do that a lot of the time?
I did.
A lot of the time. It was an in-home ABA program, but we called it homeschool. And Tanner, do you remember at first we did only that?
Uh-huh.
And then you went to 4K, but just 2 days a week?
Uh-huh.
And then the next year we did 4K again and you went every day.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Tell them who went with you to 4K.
Miss Heather?
Miss Heather.
Miss Heather.
So
you had a teacher go with you to school.
Yes.
I did.
He had one of his line therapists go with him. So we had a constant shadow while he was at school. Tanner, I would be interested to know, when we first had the girls come do homeschool with you, and they were new people to you. You didn't know them. Right? How were you feeling about it? We have a guest room upstairs that we turned into a preschool room. How are you feeling about these young ladies that you didn't know very well coming in and taking you into a schoolroom and doing school with you? How did you feel about that?
I felt good about that.
What did it bother you at the beginning at all?
Maybe I think it did a little bit, but I didn't know them at first.
Can you talk more about that?
I can't. Is it right? Is there no right or wrong?
No right or wrong.
So
whatever you feel is correct.
I talk about Miss Heather, Miss Renee, Miss
Yeah,
Lisa,
like when it
Miss Olivia.
first started, like when you were a little boy and they first came and the first few times you met them, what were you feeling in your mind when they would say, okay, Tanner, let's go in the schoolroom and do school? What were you feeling?
I was feeling a little nervous at first because I didn't know them at first. And I think I was feeling a little shy because when I was a little boy, I used to be shy around people that I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Did it ever make you did you feel different, or did you think it was strange that you had to go in that room and do school with them, but Taylor didn't and Madeline didn't? Did you ever think that?
Not really, because strange means weird. Well,
yeah, it can mean weird. Or like, did you have any, let's say it a different way. Did you have any bad feelings about it? Like when they would come and say, Tanner, we're going in the room to do your schoolwork, and Taylor and Madeline were going, like say it was a day that they had off school during the summer and they were doing their own thing. Did that ever bother you?
That did not bother me.
Okay. It didn't bother you. All right. Did you enjoy your time with those girls?
I did enjoy my time with those girls.
What are your memories about it?
Us doing, can I tell them the things they taught me?
Yep.
Yeah.
They taught me how to read it. I'll tell you the words they taught me: monkey, will, do, we, and, fire, can, to, go. And Miss Heather taught me the difference between fat and skinny. She had a picture of a fat teddy bear and a skinny teddy bear, and they taught me some animals. They taught me a polar bear, a panda bear, a koala bear, and Miss Melissa taught me a gorilla and a panther. And they taught me some foods: a bagel and the tacos.
Tanner, what did they, if you were not having a great day and say you weren't wanting to pay attention, did you feel like you had to stay there with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty strict, wasn't it?
It was pretty strict.
Did you feel like, did you love those ladies?
I did love those ladies.
Yeah.
Because I loved them.
Yeah. They were pretty awesome. They were pretty amazing. Tanner, do you feel like that part of your life was important?
I did.
Okay. Can you talk any more about that?
Oh yeah, about us.
Like when you had Renee and Heather and Miss Melissa coming to the house all the time, like they were always here. Did you feel like did you start to feel differently about yourself during those years?
I kind of,
Kind of?
yeah.
Like in what ways?
I felt a little different. That Taylor and Mitch did not have to have a school therapist come teach them.
Did you ever want to ask me about it or did you not?
Not really, no.
Not really. Okay.
But I know that they did because I have autism.
That's right. Okay, well, that kind of leads into another question. Do you remember when you realized that you had autism?
Oh yes.
When was it?
But when I was still upset about a hard time that I had on Christmas when I was 11, and I was still upset about it. The Christmas when I was 12, and Mitch told me.
What did Mitch say?
Mitch said what I was so obsessive about the hard time I had on that Christmas when I was 11, and she told me that's why I have autism.
She said that was because of your autism?
Yeah.
Okay, and before that, you didn't really realize it?
And before that, I didn't really realize it.
Okay. Well, let's shoot that back over to you guys.
Connor, so that's a great question. So how did you phrase it, Nikki? Exactly. Here, Connor.
Well, I just asked him if he remembers realizing that he had autism and that, was on a little different track in life than his siblings.
Did you realize that? And if you did realize it, at what point? And then do you remember being told you had it?
I remember.
Do you want to talk about any of those questions?
When I was about 8 years old, my mom and dad took me to the original pancake house in Alpharetta.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They sat me down and they told me why I was able to remember movies and lines and how I could remember voices and the words they said perfectly. It was because they told me I had Asperger's syndrome or level 1 autism. They told me because of it, that I was able to memorize a lot of things. At first, I thought I was sick or had a disease, but it turns out it's actually a development of sorts.
Yes.
And I was told.
Do you remember what I said about the highway and the country roads? Do you remember that part? Because Connor, sometimes it would take you longer to do homework, or if we asked you something, or if we asked you to do something, it took Connor longer to process and execute than his siblings. So if I would tell them to go wash your hands, brush your teeth, and get ready for dinner, his siblings would go and do all of that quicker, where Connor would freeze or stop. And remember, I told you, I was like your brain can get to the same place, but the car rides on the country road that goes on the back roads and takes some different turns, and it takes a little longer. But maybe Anna and Ben and Jack's brain, their cars go on 400. It's as a highway. They go on a faster highway, and they can get to that. You all get there, but Connor, sometimes your brain needs to take a few extra turns.
Yeah.
Remember the country roads?
That's a great word picture, Lisa. I love that. That's a great word picture.
But everybody gets there. But Connor's on the country road, and sometimes my brain, we're driving on 400 and you're on the country road, but we're all going to get there, okay?
Yeah.
And so we tried to explain that's why sometimes schoolwork, or he was allowed to have extra time to do tests at school because his brain needed to take on the country road. So when we told you all that, how did you feel at first when we said the word autism? What happened in your mind?
It was like it was overwhelming at first, but over time I got used to it.
Now, how do you feel about being autistic?
Gifted, like I've been sent a blessing from God Himself, and
it's not like that for everybody. Some people have autism. It's a little more profound than yours, and so sometimes people don't feel that way, but you feel it's allowed you to look at the world in a different way.
Yes, it has.
Okay, I love that.
I love that.
Do you remember we were talking about Tanner's therapy? Connor did a different therapy. Do you remember what we did?
Yeah, it was this therapy where they used flashcards, words, And,
It was called Relationship
Yeah.
Development Intervention, RDI.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
And do you remember who we did RDI with?
Miss Janice Geis.
Miss Janice and then Miss Colleen.
Yes.
Miss Janice and Miss Colleen. And part of RDI is they train mom and dad and the family members to be the therapists so that we can really execute. So we would go and learn some things. And some of the things you learned, what did we learn? Do you remember we would do therapy and I would just make sounds?
Yeah.
I would go, and when I would do that, what were you supposed to do?
Gasp.
No, you're supposed to check in with me.
Yeah, check.
So it's a way when we were doing things is to emotionally reference. Connor was learning how to emotionally reference, like with trying to read a nonverbal face.
Yes.
Flexibility in thinking. There was just all kinds of, there's 6 principles to it. I'm not going to do it justice, but it was relationship development intervention. Just to give you did ABA, we
Yep.
did RDI. And that
That's
is
so
just a
interesting.
little lens of what we did. And Connor would go, how did you feel when we always had to go to Miss Janice's office? Do you remember? Was it
Yeah, it was
annoying? Was it fun?
a bit of both at times.
Mhm.
Because there were days where you maybe just wanted to what?
Just relax.
And I was like, nope, we're going to Miss Janice's.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so a
Lisa,
little annoying and a little fun.
I would say that was probably very true on R2. And that's so interesting because little sidebar, Lise, do you remember in that time period, like the early 2000s? And I just say this just so like parents today, again, just to be an encouragement. Did you feel like there was a lot of like pressure to choose one therapy route or another? And that like, the experts from this camp were telling you why their way was the way. And I remember reading about floor time and RDI and
Social
speech
thinking and everybody.
music therapy, chiropractic, nutritional therapy, the gluten-free, casein-free diet. And we did some RDI with our OTs. We did some floor time. ABA, I would say, was like the spine, the backbone of Tanner's therapy. It was the big thing. And then everything else was sprinkled around it. But we did a little bit of everything. But for the benefit of younger parents, in hindsight, what I wish I had known is that there is no perfect answer. You have got to get down on the floor with your kid, yourself, and figure out what are the triggers, what is making him tick, and what is holding him or her back, and what do I think would speak to this child. I personally feel like we overdid the ABA. I feel like, Tanner, sometimes a lot of times, do you feel like you have to ask somebody what to do for everything?
Yes.
So a lot of prompt dependency was ingrained. Now, it was also super helpful with, behaviors and understanding how to be appropriate socially. Definitely the foundation of academic gain, for sure. But I feel like maybe we overdid one thing at the expense of some others that we should have trickled in a little bit more. So like my opinion or advice to younger parents is you're probably going to want to do a really nice mix of
Evolution.
Yes,
Yeah.
of like
Build
several
blocks.
different modalities. You're going to want to probably kind of mix them all together to some degree. I wish I had not been so feeling like I had to respond to this expertise, because really I feel like if I would have just followed my gut even more than I did and a little sooner, probably would have sailed ahead even a little quicker than we did. And I just think it's so interesting looking back. I felt a tremendous amount of pressure to like choose the right therapy and do it the right way.
And not veer away from it. And
Yes. And
but
that's
I-
not the point. That's not okay. Not right now.
I do.
That's not.
I was way off time. But
That's fine. Okay. That's not the point at all.
I do feel like I was really happy with the RDI because it really did encourage
Yes.
Connor. It allowed more flexible thinking. And then we moved on to some more as he was progressing, using social thinking and social stories to help
Agreed.
actually with, social situations. And it was also helped when we had a tough situation at home, we could kind of draw out little like three block stick figure comic
Yes.
strips to
I-
help Connor through stuff.
I agree.
Visually explain outcomes in a very visual way.
I love that. I
but I
agree.
think-
I think that's so important.
I was so grateful because I was very versed in ABA. I worked in a
Yeah.
school where that's what we were trained to do and teach. And so when I learned about RDI and the blessing of Janice Geis coming into our life, and she really kind of helped us, and we rolled up our sleeves and got in there, I realized that that would help do a lot of the things that him checking in with me,
Yeah.
looking at my face, the flexibility of thinking, the ability to think forward and backwards. And there was just a lot of things that I felt it was helping us for our situation just go a step further into helping remediate out of some of the entrenched
I
autistic
agree.
behavior. But what I loved too is it empowered parents and family members
Yes.
and caregivers because we were taught, we were given it wasn't like this magic Janice came in and did her stuff
Yeah.
and then Connor was great with Janice, but Janice would leave. It was
Right.
we were given the tools in the toolbox. And we're not
Yeah.
here promoting any one thing. I'm just saying what it did
No.
for me. I
Right.
felt empowered as his mother because I was too close to do anything else, but I was given tools that I had in my pocket if we were at a movie theater on a Sunday. So anyway, that's that.
I love
Let's
that.
we
I
go.
love that. And I felt like you at the beginning, because I think it's what I wanted. I wanted Melissa to be my magic Melissa.
Yeah.
And like she was our lead therapist. She designed all his therapy and she's amazing. Can't say enough about her. I felt like we personally were extremely blessed, but I know this is not the case for everyone. And I feel like if a young parent feels like this is the road their program is going down, you need to make a change. We were blessed enough to be able to do it in our home. So I did get a lot of training and I was in and out of the room. They would pull me in and say, watch this. This is how we're going to, this is the verbal cue I'm giving, or this is the physical cue I'm giving. And so I got a lot of training and a lot of support. But I feel like a lot of times if they go to a clinic for ABA, or whatever, and you're going away, it is that thing of like therapy is therapy, home is home. And it does need to be all one thing.
What was cool is the way Janice did it is and it's back when we had little videotapes and camcorder. We had to video our stuff. So we would
Yes.
be in our laundry room and we would do an activity in the laundry room of folding clothes or getting clothes from the washer to the dryer. And we would video and we would submit our tapes and Janice would give us feedback.
Feedback.
So it was like
love
us
that.
in our home. So it was cool. But do you
It's
remember us working at home? Like Dad?
Yeah.
Dad did it.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Was
awesome.
it fun?
And
Yep.
I will say these boys were extremely blessed to have had all the therapy opportunities. And I was just always overwhelmed with like the grace of God for putting the right people in our life at the right time. Like some of those girls who did therapy with him and the teachers that just fell into our path, like they just happened to be teaching the grade level he was going into. Literal angels. Like I can't say enough about them. They were angels unaware. Like what they did for me, for him, and just, our family stability, knowing he was getting good care and good intervention, invaluable. So thank you, teachers and therapists. Thank you
Yes.
for listening.
Thank you, all of you.
Yeah.
What else we got? What else? Let's talk about. Should we start talking about now?
Yeah.
What's going on now?
I think so. Like, what have they? Well, one thing before we go to now, Connor, do
Yes.
you have any significant memories, like whether it was in grade school, junior high, high school, of how you felt during those school years, like about your social life, about your day-to-day life? Did you have worries, fears, concerns? Did you feel content? Like, what are your memories of that time, like your school years?
Okay, so let's go elementary school.
Yeah.
What do you remember?
I remember, I used to sit in fourth grade. I used to sit in a corner and read books.
Okay, so you were content.
Yeah.
Middle school.
I was bullied a lot, which in fact I had to go to private school for 8th grade.
Oh,
But in
Connor.
high school, those were the best 4 years of my life
That's
Why?
awesome.
Why do you say that?
because I got some new experiences. I learned some amazing things, met awesome people.
So I do have something, and it's a memory from your sister, and I'm going to share it with you and see what you think from your lens. Anna said she would have the same lunchtime because Anna and Ben were 1 year behind Connor in high school. She would see you at lunch, and you would sit by yourself in the cafeteria.
I liked my privacy.
And so
Love that.
cafeteria is pretty loud, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of clanking dishes.
Yeah, you could barely hear yourself
Is
think.
it like awful on your ears.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
important for people to hear that he needed his privacy.
And
Yes.
so your sister and her friends would always feel so bad for you because they saw you sitting alone at lunch. And what were you feeling at lunch?
I was just feeling content eating by myself.
And you were like, give me 5 minutes, people.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So
I love it.
So here again, the balance of the school day and lunch to him was can't wait to sit by myself and just chill. Where
Yep.
his siblings were like, oh my gosh, that's so sad.
Yep. And that's such a refreshing, freeing reality when you realize that it is okay. It really is. I love that, Connor.
And because you were so on demand in the classroom, weren't you?
Yeah.
So lunch was probably a welcomed, give me 5.
A
people.
welcome relief from my school duties.
I love it.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah,
high
but-
school was the best 4 years of your life. And then really quick, you went into the workforce. We're not going to name the name of the company. We're going to,
Nope.
but
I was being bullied there too.
Mm-hmm.
People were all, come on, man, I want to go home. I was all, dude, I want to go home too. Oh, just keep your pants on.
So Connor worked at a large store in a receiving dock.
Yeah, and needless to say, it was good at first, but the conditions were deplorable. So I quit.
And so do you remember the time where you told me they crumpled up some paper and threw it at your head? And they said it fell from the ceiling. Do you remember that day? And you said they would play tricks on you like that at work?
Yeah, that's why I quit. Now I'm in a much better workplace where I have a lot of friends, and some of them even talk movies with me.
And you have a really best friend in this older lady who's a cashier. And what's her name?
Vicky. I also have this other friend, Alex. He loves movies. He even talks about them a lot.
So it's interesting.
And Seth too. He does too.
Getting him in the right work environment. So when we graduated high school, we were on a tightrope without a net. We had no idea what to do, no job coaching. We had no resources, and it was just us doing applications at places we thought he could do the job. And the first experience turned out
Picking on me. I try not to stoop to their level.
Grown men picking on an 18, 19-year-old kid in a receiving
That makes
warehouse.
my blood boil. Makes my blood boil.
It was rough. But now, good, happy days.
Yes, happy days. It's all in the past, and I hope whoever did that.
Nice. No, wish him well. Pray for him. That's all you can do. That's all you
That's
can
right.
do.
all you
Don't say
can-
bad things. Just wish him well.
Wish him well after how he treated me.
I know. It's still painful.
An eye for an eye. That's what I say.
Well, it's still painful. But you know what? We just have to let that go, and that person will have to answer to that. You have happy, good people around you now.
Yes, I have Now I have a good job and friends who accept me for who I am.
That's great.
amazing,
Okay, Tanner,
Connor.
let's talk about Tanner.
Yeah, let's talk about me now.
All right, what are your memories of your school years? Like, do you have good memories, bad memories? What things like stand out to you in your mind? Well,
I
first,
wish
can you
them
tell the people all the different places you went to school?
Yes. I went to school at St. Andrews, Calvin Academy, and OCA in Glen Forest.
What was OCA? Say the whole word.
Orangewood Christian Academy.
And what did we do for 2 years, just you and me?
We did OCA for 2 years.
No, what did we do here?
We did homeschool.
For second and fifth, because
second and
there
fifth.
was not a great school option.
Okay.
And so we did, Calvin Academy is a very small private school where my other children attend that was not equipped. So he went there they were not equipped to handle a shadow or any type of special intervention. So he went there just through the kindergarten program. And then they and I appreciated the honesty, honestly. I was glad. They just said, we're not equipped. We know we can't really provide what's going to be needed here. So this is not the right choice. And that was actually a gift. So we did a small private Christian school that was geographically something we could handle. 2 years of homeschool. And then we ended up at Glen Forest. Tanner, tell people, what is Glen Forest?
Glen Forest is a school for people with disabilities to go learn at.
Right. Because what did they do for you? What did they do for you at Glen Forest that was different?
They taught me slow, and let's try to think what else they did.
And how many kids were in your class?
Not a lot.
Right. Small class size.
Small class size.
Tanner, during your school years, did you ever feel concerned about the fact that you didn't go to the school where your brother and sisters went?
Nope.
You didn't worry about it?
No, I didn't worry about it.
Okay, so you just went where and you felt fine?
Yeah, I felt fine, Mom.
That is. So would you say overall you have good memories, or do you have any memories that were hard that stand out to you about your school years?
I have good memories.
That's awesome. I'm so thankful to hear that. That is
that
so
makes me so happy. I mean,
And-
Connor, we live in Metro Atlanta, and Connor was always at the public school.
Yeah.
So and it was a huge school. So, you know, unfortunately, because of my situation, single mom and all that, like he was forced into just that environment.
No.
Did you
But you
at least
managed it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
did you feel like your school system did a good job? Like
It
with
did. Very much so. Yes.
good.
Yeah.
I even learned a lot about film there.
Oh,
So Connor had a good, obviously from the parent lens, it was a lot of advocating and pushing and
Yes.
sometimes challenging and being,
What's
you know, I think you have to, us special need parents and caregivers, we need to have armor and we need to
Yeah.
be ready to advocate, and advocate, viciously for our children. I don't mean
Yeah.
it in a negative way. I mean it in a, no pushing us
determined.
around.
A
Yeah,
determined.
a determined advocacy and just don't back down. So
And yeah,
Yeah.
I feel, and it makes me feel so good to know that Tanner has, you know, very much the majority good feelings and good memories. It was much harder on the parental end, making the decision, choosing the right place, the 2 years of kind of like imposed homeschool because it was the best of the few options that we had. And I know another thing just to put out there so parents don't feel alone. I felt like we were going to pay the piper one way or the other. If I had kept him in the public school system, we would have been fighting the battles of IEP meetings and maybe a standard of care that I was not okay with, or a level of intensity of therapy that I did not feel like was honestly acceptable for his needs. Or we had to pay ungodly expensive private school tuition. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you were so privileged you could do that. And yes, we were. But I do want to put out there, we worked our tails off and sacrificed a lot. And that's not to toot our horn, but also just to put it in reality. Like, it is hard, you know, to find the right supportive, nurturing, growing environment for your child. And there is a price that gets paid, whether you, because of financial constraints, have to stay somewhere that you're going to have to do some of the therapy at home, or if you are able to go and pay a hefty tuition somewhere, it's going to be a financial strain. And that was the reality for us for the entirety of the school career. It was a strain one way or the other, but we got it. We got through it. And we're so thankful. And Mark and I both would look back and say, we didn't waste a dime. Everything that we spent money on helped at some point, and it was so worth it. So worth it.
And I think it was great. You know, Connor, like you said, he navigated it, and his memories, you know, obviously
Granted, there were a few bumps, but I've moved past it. It's fine.
and it didn't kill you, it made you stronger.
That's right.
Yeah, there's an old saying, whatever that which does not kill us just makes us stronger.
Makes us
Absolutely.
stronger.
Absolutely.
And you are resilient.
So do we want to talk about what's going on with you guys now? How's life now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now.
Okay, we're just going to talk about now, and then
So, Tanner, what are you doing now?
What's about to come up?
The season 3, April 2nd.
And what do we have between now and the show coming out? What's going on?
We're going to New York and California. Why are we
I'm
going
heading
to New York?
to Providence.
Because
in
we're going to be on the Kelly
California.
Clarkson show, me and Mitch.
Yeah.
what's going on with the Kelly Clarkson show?
You're going on with Kelly Clarkson?
Yes.
The
All
day
right.
before LA, Connor. We're going to be coming from New York to see you.
I'll be going from Rhode Island to...
I know.
We're going to go to our shoelace factory for Special Faces.
Yeah.
Yes. What did we just do for Special Faces?
What did we do? I forgot. Huh?
Yeah, it's
We interviewed what?
DJ.
We interviewed DJ. Yes, we interviewed DJ.
You
We just
interviewed
did our-
DJ for Special Faces, and Connor's going to go take a tour of their shoelace factory. We're going to
We're
check that out.
So
And then we'll-
excited.
Somewhere my grandma used to be over there.
Yeah. And then we're going to Los Angeles. But Connor, really quick, talk about Love on the Spectrum. Tanner, was it weird? Was it weird to have cameras watching you on a date?
It was unique.
It was unique. Okay, we don't want to say weird. It was a unique experience. That's a great word, Tanner. So
This is Lisa.
were you nervous or scared to have a camera watch you go on a date?
No. No, because I knew it would be so cool. I was not scared.
Big
you
man
wanna-
did not get that nervous.
I love it. So you
I
wanted
knew
to
nothing bad was going to happen.
know. It's exciting. How did you feel about cameras in your face on a date?
Well, it did feel a bit weird at first, but I got used to it.
Yeah.
Were you nervous? Did you feel like you had to watch what you said or did? Or were you
Kind of.
completely natural?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I had to watch what I said.
You did? What so you did edit yourself a little bit? Were you nervous?
Yeah.
What did you do different that if the camera wasn't there you would have done?
The camera, I would have probably just been myself, you know?
You weren't yourself?
No, I was myself, but I would just gone and organic, you
A
know?
little more relaxed, maybe?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
there is kind of weird to have cameras watching you do
Yes.
everything. And then are you, no spoilers, are you excited about what your journey's going to look like this year for people?
Yep, a little.
I'm excited. I can't wait
What
to
do
see.
you think? What do you think people, people remember you from first episode of season 2 when you had your panic attack?
They might relate to me with that.
And how did you feel about showing a panic attack on TV?
At first, I didn't. You thought I didn't be embarrassed
Were you embarrassed?
a little bit, but it was.
What'd you find out about it?
It's actually natural. Some
Yes,
people
it is.
often go through it.
And you actually helped a lot of people.
Yeah,
Watching you freak out and then watching you get right back in there.
yeah,
That helped a lot of people, dude.
yeah.
And
It
I
really
want to
did.
thank you for being so honest and vulnerable out there. And so from your panic attack to the way and we're not saying anything, that this season ends, what do you think your message is showing the world about people on the spectrum and how they can continue to grow in their 20s?
Just
What's it on?
have more confidence. It's no,
Yeah.
I don't. That's all I could think of.
That's okay. And then, that we're always still growing and changing, right?
Yeah.
We're not just sitting there like a cooked egg, right?
Yep.
I love that.
What about you, Tanner? Are you excited for us to watch your journey on season 3?
Yes, I am.
And don't tell too much, but what are you most excited for people to watch? What do you think people might think is funny? What parts of your dates that you went on?
With Kate, Callie, and Cheyenne. Is that what you mean?
Yep. Yeah. Which parts of the dates do you think were the funnest? Just don't say the names. Just say what parts of the dates were the most fun?
The Greenville Zoo.
The Greenville Zoo. What about these more recent dates you went on?
The goat farm.
There's a goat farm scene. Yeah.
The botanical garden one. And feed the ducks. Oops.
Yep. No, that's good. That's good.
This time my voice is a little funny.
Tanner, what do you think people might notice about you? Like in season 2, you went on dates only with Kate.
Yeah.
And then in season 3, you went with 2 different girls. Well, let's not say their names though. You went on 2 dates with 2 different girls. What do you think people are going to notice about you?
That
You've some things about you. Tell Miss Lisa and Connor.
that I learned that dating is important, but
And you're what? You're more what?
yeah, I'm more mature.
I think you're more mature.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm more mature. Yeah, I'm more mature.
And what else? You're more what?
Yeah, I'm more confident.
I think you're more
Yes,
confident.
I can already see a difference from when I met you
Yeah.
Oh
here.
yeah. I think you're more confident in season 3 than season 2.
I think so too.
Because remember, like, you went with Kian and all the people from Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
You went by yourself. I wasn't around that much.
No.
Yeah, and you did a really great job.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yes.
listen, guys. I mean, Nikki, do we have anything else for these young men?
I think they did a fantastic job sitting here for almost an hour listening to their moms yabber.
I think you guys
You
did
guys
great.
did great.
Do you have any message that you want to end this episode? A lot of parents are listening with younger kids, maybe some siblings. What do you have anything
Okay,
else?
all right. I'll say something to them. Parents of autistic youths, trust in your children. Be patient. Take your time. Have faith. Learn from them, and encourage them to mature. Encourage them them to be adults and to find their own path in life.
Connor,
What
that's
about-
amazing.
I like that, Connor.
About what?
And just encouraging them not to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, and to get out of their comfort. Yes, that too.
That's like the best thing I've ever heard, Connor. That was so great.
That's amazing. You did so good. Tanner, do you have any advice?
Oh, please, I have something to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have autism because if I didn't have autism, I would never have met you, Connor, Jack, Ben, or Anna, or Tony.
Funny how life works, isn't it, Tanner?
It is funny how life works. So what would you say, like, to other families that have people with autism? What would you tell them about it?
I would tell them that when they make friends that have autism, the people with autism need patience, and they need a little more time.
Yeah.
But what were a few others that we say?
Maybe understanding.
Maybe understanding. And
Yeah.
there's one more.
Oh, I think just love and time
And love and
patience.
time, patience. Yeah.
And that everything is going to be what?
And that everything's gonna be okay.
That's right.
Excellent. You guys are the best.
You're the best.
Y'all,
Thank
you guys
you so
really
much.
are.
Thank you very
You
much.
really are the
I am
best.
so amazed with how strong both of you are.
Me too. We're all strong.
Let me see your
I don't-
muscles.
Yeah.
I like your muscles, Connor.
Look
Thank
at
you.
Connor,
it.
you're red.
I
You're
do,
red.
thank you.
Woo.
Woo, gun show.
Oh, that's a lot better than
I
that.
don't know if people really realize, how much extra effort maybe it takes to stay engaged with all the social media and the filming and the pressures of meeting new people. And I think both Connor and Tanner have just handled it beautifully. And I'm so proud of both of you.
I am too. Sorry. I can't help it. I love you. Okay, I'm going to leave you alone.
I know.
All right. Well, listen, on that note, I think we're going to put a bow on today's Talk to
Yes.
Me Sis.
Yep.
I love it.
So
This
at the end of
is great.
Yeah,
the
this is great,
show,
huh?
we always say something. Love you, mean it.
Love you.
Love you, sis. Love you, Connor.
Love you, mean it.
Bye, Jen.
Okay.
Love you too.
Thanks, y'all. Okay.
Bye, y'all.